Ladies and gentlemen from beyond the great waterfall, welcome. I am Atlas Pleiades. Today, another new audiovisual record of events have been released to the public. As in, ReZero Season 4's second episode has been released this week. Today, we will be continuing the Season 4 discussion and analysis that we had begun last week. As in, actually more so, just a few days ago. Hopefully, if I can get this uploaded a bit more on time since I was so late with that last one. That took way too long to deal with. Should have been out before the episode came out too, but shitternet be shitternet, I guess. I'm gonna just jump right in here very briefly. Anime onlys, welcome, welcome. It's good to always have you. I'm excited to keep you guys here this time, just like last time. It feels nice to be able to include you all in our discussion. So, let's begin this discussion promptly. Episode 2 immediately opens up with us getting to see Subaru putting on his new gear. Mainly the glove, more so. Which is great. We are just jumping right in and we've got the new character designs. We talked about them a little bit back in the last episode, so I'm not going to retread the same territory here. But I will say, the new designs are nice to see in full, proper motion now, rather than just the little snippets we got to see from the opening. Right at the start, there's a little bit of banter just talking about the concerns for the travels, and Meili mentions that the dragons don't seem to like her very much. Both Patrash and Yosef seem to not appreciate her witch beast smell, I guess, due to her divine protection. Well, not too surprising, but we get to see Julius show Subaru where ground dragons typically enjoy being petted and stuff to calm them down. This will become relevant a little bit later in the episode. The characters banter back and forth for a brief little bit there, Meili mentioning that she doesn't want to get her head bitten off by Patrash, which Subaru immediately denies that hell no, she's a vegetarian, that would never happen. Roswaal comes out and mentions that he needs to inform Subaru and Emilia about Rom's condition. I have a bit of a problem with this one. This doesn't get explained in the episode. Roswaal explains it to them, but we don't get to see it. It's pretty important, and we don't actually get to see it. Maybe it happened in a prior season, and that's why they didn't explain it. But, like, I'm pretty certain the exact circumstances surrounding what her condition is doesn't get explained here. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But, yeah, it never gets explained throughout the entire episode, even though multiple opportunities for it to be explained do show up. Like, they could have done it. So, that was kind of a weird thing in the episode. Not trying to dog on it immediately as we jump into the episode, just something I thought I wanted to mention that I thought was kind of odd there. But speaking of Rom, she brings herself and Rem out to join up in the carriage for their journey, and we get to see the little wheelchair that Rem gets to sit in that we saw in the opening. We just get to see that up close a little bit, and we get the whole please have a safe journey, come back safe kind of thing with Petra and Frederica, and then they leave pretty much. Oh, brief thing I wanted to mention about the opening though is that the credits are actually in the ReZero language before switching to Japanese, which I thought was a really cool touch. I don't know if any other opening has done that. Season 3 might have, but I don't remember them doing that. But yeah, thought that was a cool little detail. That's kind of fun and cute. But anyway, immediately following the opening, we get a nice shot of what seems to be a desert village that the characters have traveled to. So we're already right in the desert within just the first few minutes of the episode. Subaru and Emilia enter a bar there and order a cold and hot milk respectively, and talk with the barkeep about business and everything going on during what is called sand time. Of course, this guy says that most people don't really travel out this far, and asks them about what they're doing, and they explain what their goal is, to travel through the Agria Dunes. And he basically tells him, hey, don't do that. That's a bad idea. That's a suicide mission. And of course, Subaru's like, nah, man, I got this. We got to do this. We don't really have a choice. So eventually, they leave the bar, but then the man steps out and seems to have a prosthetic leg, implying that not only has he witnessed travelers die during these travels, but that he has seen, or that he himself maybe went on those travels and lost his leg during one of them. Seeing as the characters are not going to back down, he ends up giving them a little bit of a tip-off to something he noticed, which seems to be that birds keep flying towards the direction of the watchtower. Something to keep in mind going forward. We get to have a nice little bit of Subaru and Julius banter, first with them talking about the state of Julius's spirits. It looks like Julius won't be fighting with his spirits anytime soon, because while the contract is still intact, they also don't recognize him due to having his name eaten. So, Julius will only be able to fight with his sword skills going forward, it sounds like. Then the two of them have a little bit of just fun banter. It's always good to see them play off each other. And then the Desert Storm picks up a little bit, and Subaru kind of calls out Melee about if she's even doing her job, which she's like, oh, well, there aren't any witch beasts around, is there? Let's change that. And summons a sandworm briefly, before making the sandworm go back in the ground, basically telling Subaru, yeah, I'm doing what I'm supposed to, how about you do your own job? We then get treated to a very brief montage of them traveling and camping out at night, continuously trying to make their way toward the tower. One thing that I didn't really catch in the light novel, and may have not even been that way during the light novel or web novel, is that while they're camping, Amelia puts up this ice barrier, and it just looks cool. I don't really know what purpose that serves, aside from maybe protecting them from like surrounding witch beasts not attacking them in the middle of the night, but it just looks really cool. We also get to see them basically doing the thing that Roswaal does to Rom, but themselves, Amelia and Beatrice kind of helping Rom out with that. Again, they don't explain why they're doing it, which I think is weird. They could have had a brief character line of why they're doing that in the episode, but again, not gonna linger on that for too long. We see them continue to head toward the tower, but it definitely seems like Reinhard described. They are unable to get any closer, even after what appears to have been multiple days of travel. Quick thing to note here, Subaru complains about how bad he misses a bath, which I find kind of funny because I noticed something while working on the last video. If you pay close attention within the first episode, you will realize that Subaru never takes a bath at all until it seems to be he gets into these clothes in this episode. Because every single shot that he is in last episode, he still is all like dirtied up, bloody and like on his legs, and of course his leg injury as well. Like, he's literally drawn the exact same. There's blood on his leg, there's dirt on the back of his jacket, and you can see his leg clearly with the wrapped up gauze. So I find it kind of funny that even in all of the scenes that we have, each one, I guess Subaru never took a bath, which is kind of gross. Don't really. Cool attention to detail though. Anastasia explains that they seem to be running in circles. However, she does seem to have at least a little bit of a clue of how to get through Sandtime. It seems that when the wind picks up, that is from space twisting and returning back to normal. So their best chance is when the Desert Storm basically clears up and they're more in open air. However, Anastasia is not the only one they're utilizing to try to get through to the tower. Seems Rom is hard at work as well, utilizing her clairvoyance to see through the eyes and ears of witch beasts to see if there is any path that maybe they can hint at towards the tower. She seems to struggle for a bit until Subaru notices the birds that the guy from the bar had mentioned prior. And so, when he sees those birds flying to the tower, he has Rom look through the bird's eye, Ram uses her clairvoyance through the bird's eye and proceeds to give them directions on how to get through the sand time. In which they do. They succeed. And they end up in a field of flowers. A field of flowers in the middle of the desert, somewhat near the tower. Kind of strange. What's even more strange and much more threatening is the fact that there are yet more witch beasts that show up, called Oiron bears. They seem to camouflage themselves in the flowers, although that isn't directly stated in the anime. Their design leads me to believe that, as well as maybe just a little bit of a hint from the light novel. But that isn't really relevant here because they're already on the prowl and attack. Mei Li tries to keep them away by having everyone be quiet. However, Yosef gets too spooked by the threat of them and lets out a roar, which causes an entire pack of Oiron bears to chase after the carriage. As they flee from the Oiron bears, a few of the crew step in to help out. Amelia shooting off her ice magic to fight back, Julius taking them out each with his sword, and then Beatrice stepping in to use Minya, using her own dark crystals of magic to take them down. Then Mei Li summons the sandworm as well to help out, having it crush the other Oiron bears. As this chaotic mess is happening, there is a brief flash of light coming from the watchtower, and just as Subaru is able to even get a glimpse of what's going on, his head explodes, and goddamn, his head was destroyed in an instant. Not only was it fast for us viewers, but it seemed to have been quite fast for Subaru as well, as he's barely even able to process that he died at all before things get hectic. Seeing as Subaru's checkpoint is not that far after they had gotten out of sand time, Mei Li already trying to get the Oiron bear away from the group right before Yosef freaks the fuck out. Seems like this loop is going exactly the same as the last as well, because Yosef freaks out, the Oiron bears start chasing after them, and everybody fights them off exactly the same way. So, Subaru instructs Ram to instead turn away from the tower because, of course, that's the only thing he can think of in the moment. He thinks that they need to find a better route. Ram pushes back at first, but is quickly convinced by Amelia to do as he says. As they begin heading into a different direction, the sandworm takes the light that originally Subaru had in the last loop. And as the witch beast dies and its body falls to the ground, it causes such a hectic crash that ends up separating the group, leaving Subaru alone with just Beatrice and Patrash. This situation is bad, but it quickly gets worse as another flash of light heads in Subaru's direction, and Patrash is only barely able to push Subaru somewhat out of the way. Subaru looks over to see Patrash's mangled corpse, only to realize that the same thing has pretty much happened to him. His body is already severed halfway down, Beatrice crying over his dying form. And we see a wide shot of yet another light hitting the both of them. The wide shot lingers on the two lying there for a moment before Beatrice converts to mana and fizzles away. And Subaru's eye, we get to see, move toward the tower just to see one more final shot of light destroy him during this loop. So yeah, shit got bad and it got worse real fast, and he still doesn't even fully know how he died. He knows it's the white light, but he doesn't exactly know what to do about it, and with how fast it moves, what the hell could he even think to do? Well, Subaru returns by death to his checkpoint, and we actually get to hear the Call of the Witch, the sound that we used to hear back in Season 1, for whenever Subaru would die from a loop and not fully understand what happened. Which, it's cool to see. It's good, or rather cool to hear that after such a long time, because I don't even think it played during Season 2. Once again, I could be wrong, so of course correct me in the comments, but I think the last time we heard it was Season 1, because I don't think it played during Season 3. As the situation is about to unfold exactly the same way as before things could get out of hand, Subaru thinks on his feet and summons the invisible Providence to reach out to Yosef to calm him down the same way that Julius taught him earlier. This gives the characters just a brief moment to breathe, and Subaru explains to the others about watching out for the white light coming from the tower, and Subaru seems surprised that they trust his hunch, but as Amelia points out, it is his hunch. He usually is right. And so, as they're discussing this, Ram immediately notices that it is looking directly at Subaru, and another white light flashes his way. However, Amelia immediately puts up an ice barrier that is able to stop the white light, but just barely, because Julius still had to intervene and slash the needle. Oh, what's that? Yeah, it seems that the thing that's been killing Subaru each time has actually just been some sort of needle. Yet another needle is shot at Subaru and Beatrice end up using another form of magic that they've invented called EMT to nullify all of the magic in this little bubble that they create, which basically puts an immediate stop, or not maybe an immediate stop, but slows down the needle to a slow enough speed that Julius can kind of just easily block it from hitting Subaru. The only problem with using this nullification magic is that it doesn't last very long. And in this particular instance, it stopped the sand distortion as well, and the ground starts to shake before crumbling beneath the characters. It seems that this works similar to, this distortion rather, works similar to Beatrice's door crossing. And as the ground crumbles beneath them, the episode draws to a close, as we get to see one last shot from the tower of some sort of woman smiling and with the line, "Found you." So yeah, that's episode 2 of season 4. What are my thoughts? Well, honestly, I really loved this episode. This episode surprised me. While the first episode mainly served as exposition and build up to help us understand where we're really headed story-wise for the show, episode 2 was much more of the stuff that we would expect out of ReZero. We got a little bit of character banter, we actually got to see some character abilities in action, and of course we got to see a little bit of what stakes we're actually dealing with here. And of course, the main staple, the deaths. The deaths were done almost perfectly. That first death, I absolutely loved. It felt exactly, in my opinion, how it should have. Him dying in an instant in this pure panic of not knowing how he died, what the circumstances are, how to fix it, or anything. It felt like it reflected the feeling I got reading it for the first time. It was done wonderfully. The second death is where I have a little bit of a complaint. And this is the one everybody that read the light novel had a little bit of a complaint about. And it's more so the ending circumstance to that death. In the light novel, Subaru wipes Beatrice's tears with the unseen hand, which was a very emotional scene and one of the best, I think, in the entire series. So why it got cut when they probably could have fit it in, I'm not going to understand that one. However, it was still quite good. There really isn't that much to talk about here, to be honest with you, simply because that a good chunk of this episode was mainly just them traveling and a decent amount of montage, minor scenes here and there. What we did get was really good. We got to see a little bit of the desert travel and then them getting closer to the tower. I was a little disappointed to see that the witch beasts were pretty much all CGI. However, I'm okay with it. After season 3, I've pretty much accepted that most of the monsters in ReZero are likely going to be CGI moving forward. However, I will say the sandworm, even though it did seem to be CGI as well, looked really good and blended in a bit more with the 2D environments. It just kind of sucks that the Oiran bears didn't. However, I understand due to their quantity that, yeah, they're going to use CGI to save a bit of time and money. I get it. What I didn't understand was at least it looked like to me, even the other, like, smaller witch beasts, for, like, the briefest scenes that we saw, weren't animated either. Like, they were CGI, like like the dogs is a good example, as well as, like, that one shot of the bee, I think, was also CGI, and then, of course, the little bats that I'm assuming Maylee had sent out, that we're familiar with. Those were also CG, which I think was kind of a weird thing with how short they were of a scene. But I do think that they're saving some of that budget for a little bit later, which I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, overall, I really liked how this episode went. The only gripe I really have is that thing with Rom's condition, which, I don't know if it's even gonna come up later or not, or if I should spoil it here. So I'm going to refrain, because it might have even been mentioned earlier in the series, so I don't think I need to talk about it. But my point is, if it hasn't been discussed, it's weird that there were so many scenes of, like, them helping Rom out, or talking about Rom, like, running out of strength, and they don't actually explain why. Like, there was multiple opportunities and they didn't do it. But anyway, yeah, that was it. Getting to see a tease of a new character as well at the end of it looks to be pretty fun. And now let's talk about my concerns for this episode. You might remember from the last video that I had said that I was quite worried about this particular week's episode being super rushed. Well, it definitely was rushed, you can tell. Scenes are super fast-paced, we're jumping from scene to scene really quickly, but it is not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Because in the last episode I mentioned that, from what I understood, the first 2 episodes were speedrunning Volume 21, which I interpreted as ending at the end of Volume 21. It hasn't. It has not ended there, which is great. That's exciting as all hell. For me, particularly, because what that means for the next episode. But yeah, this episode was definitely rushed, but overall it still worked within the constraints of it being rushed. So overall, I think the episode was great, and I'm even more excited for next week now, because the contents of the end of Volume 21 are really, really good. And I mean, like, incredibly good. We're gonna get to see a bit more of what we've been wanting to see from the series. I don't want to really spoil anything, but a certain scene that I thought was gonna be delegated to being a certain scene looks like might actually basically be the entire episode, which is gonna give it plenty of time to breathe, which I am beyond excited for. Unless, of course, they jump into Volume 22 partially next episode, which I'm kind of hoping is not the case, mainly because mathematically, it seems like if they follow what I think they're doing, which is similar to Season 3, the first 3 episodes of Season 4 out of the 19 are going to be dedicated to the first volume of Arc 6, while there'll be 4 episodes likely for the other 4 volumes, totaling for 16 episodes between the other 4 volumes. So, I'm very excited for next week. Hopefully next week meets my expectations or exceeds them, because likely I think they're saving the budget for Witch Beasts, for saving the budget on what they didn't do with the Witch Beasts here for next episode, I'm hoping. So yeah, all I can say is I heavily, heavily look forward to next week's episode. Hopefully I can get this video out way faster than I did the last one, and not have this come out after episode 3 does. So, in between the last episode and this one, I haven't had any time to work on Al Part 2, but it is in the works. I just gotta finish chipping away at it. You guys will hopefully see that soon. I definitely think production on that's gonna be slower due to the season being released right now and its release schedule, but it should come out sometime in between for those looking forward to it. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling so this video is a little bit shorter to work with, And, yeah, I don't really have any theories to discuss either, so thank you all for watching. I guess I'll see you guys in the next episode where we get to see just how good Season 4 is going to ramp up to be. Bye-bye.